Now look here, pull into that service station. I need a sarnie.
OK, and I, in the meantime, will get onto my Radiomobile radio here and try and carefully tune in to
Jools and Jim's Joyride.
Yes, terms and conditions apply. Welcome to this very special podcast where we have a very special guest indeed. A man that I have been longing to meet for a long time, and now my dream comes true because my co-host Jim is introducing me to Joe Pasquale.
Oh.
Here's Joe.
Oh. Listen, do you know how exciting this is? Because I've been on my own for the past 14 months and my neighbour's been all right, so I might just start talking and not shut up at all. Can I continue about Noel Edmonds? We were
just talking about Noel Edmonds because I said, and I think this is true, that Noel Edmonds had his own water supply, which he bottled and sold as posh water from Blobbyland.
Yeah.
What was it called? Blobby Water?
Well, I don't know what it was called. I wouldn't buy it, though, if it was Blobby Water.
I rather like the idea of Blobby Water. I'd rather like that.
Apparently, he's got millions and millions of gallons of petrol all stored up on his land somewhere in case there's like a zombie apocalypse, and they can all go, oh, let's go around and he'll start flogging you.
Well, I always thought he was sensible, but I didn't realise he was that clever. That's very good.
Well, isn't that dangerous?
Well, I think it's quite dangerous.
What about if he stood out in his field having a fag or smoking his pipe?
But presumably it's all underground. It's not just in some old baked bean tins sloshing around.
So. You know, petrol goes off though, don't it?
What would you have in your bunker, Joe?
What do I have? Wine gums.
I think that's all you need.
I like the yellow ones, which isn't a popular choice.
No, Neve said it. It's good. I don't know. Is it like, are they lemon ones or what? Are they pineapple? What is it?
I don't think any of those things taste like what they're supposed to taste like.
And I think if you were blindfolded, they all taste the same, I think.
Yeah.
Have you done that challenge?
No, I've done hooded tasting. I do have hooded tasting of wine gums and wine, actually, yeah.
Oh, have you? That's good. The wine.
When I was at school, when I was 11, my teacher, Mr. Dixon, who was in the Second World War, he was a World War II fighter pilot ace, and he had a huge handlebar moustache, but on the end of his nose, it had a really long hair, about 3-4 inches long, and we did that black tasting thing, so you close your eyes, hold your nose, so when he closed his eyes and held his nose, I thought it was an opportunity for me to snip off his hair.
Did you?
Which I did, snip it off. And then, when he opened his eyes, he said, "Who snipped off my hair?" And everyone pointed at me and said, him. So I got the slipper in front of everyone else.
The slipper?
No.
Well, this is like Tom Brown's school days. You've got the slipper.
Yeah.
That's how long you're in olden days time now.
If you got it, he said, "We're going to give you 6, but if you rise up from your incumbent position..." Before the 6 is finished, you go back to the beginning.
Wow.
And I used to think it was hilarious. It didn't hurt me. It would have hurt if it was my dad.
Yeah.
Or my mum or dad, because it
Well,
was something personal then. But with the it didn't bother me.
Incumbent as well. It's a great word.
But going back to how did you first meet one another?
We met in the jungle. I'm a celebrity.
Was that the first time we met?
First time, Because you came in about 4 days after me and Nancy went in, right? And everybody was speculating. We knew there was somebody else coming in going, who is it? And I kept saying to Nancy, it's Jim, isn't it? Jim's coming in. She went, no, it's not. She'd lied for her right teeth. I knew it was you because I was making a double bed. I went, somebody else is... Who else is going to sleep in here? Well, I'm going to go, well, it's Jim then, isn't it? She went, no, it's not. And of course he turns up. We'd been there for 4 or 5 days, but nobody had any watches. All the crew that you see have got their watches blacked out, got gaffer tape on it. You've got no idea of the time whatsoever. So the days last forever, don't they?
Yeah, but I worked out how to
No, you see, that's right, because what we did, he was, well, he is a genius anyway, but what happened was, he came in and everybody went, what's the time, Jim? What's the time? Like, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? And he came in and he went, it's 12:30, whatever time it was. And so what he did, he actually got a stick in the ground and he used it as a sundial with them for the rest of the week until it was got all cloudy.
It's a genius, sundial.
But, do you know, also, I backed that up because the film crew were in giant fiberglass rocks. It was all real, but there was these big rocks that they put the cameras in, and I could hear them inside the rocks, and they used to change over. They used to have a changeover every 8 hours. So I could hear them, and I thought it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I could hear them going, "All right, mate, all right, it's a bit boring in here. Nothing happening." So So I knew it was 6 o'clock when I heard them changing over in there.
That's funny, isn't it? Yeah. That was 16 years ago now.
I know.
Nearly 17 years this year.
And you won it.
Yeah.
Because of your emu escapades.
Yeah, I know it was, wasn't it? That's exactly what done it. I know it was.
What did you do with an emu?
Well,
He fell in love with some emus, and all the public were going, "Oh, look at Joe with his emus," and he cared for them and tended them.
yeah, but that was where we first met. Because that was, we did a Did you didn't do a parachute jump then, did you?
No, I didn't.
Because this one we're
Thank
supposed to be talking
goodness.
about transport today.
Partly, yes.
I
Well,
wasn't
you
sure.
fly, don't you?
Well, this is what I was going to say, because after doing that, we did a parachute jump. Did Nancy do the jump
Yeah,
as
she
well?
did it, yeah.
It was great. Have you ever done a parachute jump, Jules?
No.
Would you do one?
Well, I mean, I think that if the plane was in danger or my life depended on it, I would.
But not by choice then.
I don't think I would be rushing to do it unless there was something.
I've done a couple
necessary.
since. When you're going down, and I've done solo. I've done it, with a bloke strapped on your back, tandem. And as you're going down, you're going like terminal velocity, which is like 120 miles an hour, and then you see the ground coming up at you, and you think, if this don't open, not only am I going to hit the ground at 120 miles an hour, there's a 15-stone bloke strapped to me as well. And it's that point that you think you really could die, that you actually really feel like you're living. It's a really weird, esoterical thing going on in your head.
Yeah.
I suppose the moment of real thing is when you're sitting on the plane about to jump out. That must be quite a
what's
moment.
really weird is a bloke strapped to your back, and you're like a spider. It's like some sort of, it's like the film The Fly. You're actually sitting there on the outside of the plane with hanging out with your legs out, and he's on his knees behind you, and he's kneeling there, and you're gripping onto the side of the plane. And then he says, you've got to breathe, remember to breathe, because what happens as you're going down, the air is forced into your lungs, and if you don't breathe out, then you're just going to pass out. So the best way to breathe is to scream. So yeah, don't worry, I'll be screaming, all right? So he goes 1 and 2, and they always go on 2, because on 3, a lot of people grip onto the side, so you don't realise it's going to go, and you literally just roll out, and then you just scream. That's what happens.
I don't think I could do it.
No, it's what you're describing. I mean, I think it's very useful training for when I'm in an out of control plane where they've all got food poisoning except me, and I've got to get out.
This is another story. This because, as Jim just said, I've got a pilot's license. After we did the jungle, I thought if I can jump out of planes and helicopters, I should be able to learn to fly. So I got a pilot's license, and I'd been doing a lot of stuff for the troops. I've been to Belize. I went to Falklands 3 times, and Iraq. Got attacked in Iraq. They tried to mortar us down, all sorts of stuff. But I went to Cyprus, and I was doing shows out there for them, and I got asked if I wanted to go up in the Red Arrows, because that's where they train every year. And I don't know about you, but if somebody else says to me, do you want to do something? I'll say yeah, and if I can't do it, I'll learn how to do it, because I'd rather have a story than go no and go home and say, I got offered to go in the Red Arrows. Did you do it? No, there's no story in that, there's no fun in that. So I said, yeah, okay. So they gave me a full medical, and the week before I'd gone out there, I'd just had a vasectomy as well. I've never told this story ever. So I'd had the vasectomy done, and then they give you a full medical, and I told them about this, and well, you should be okay then. So you get in this Red Arrows thing, and they give you a quick briefing, and the pilot's in the front, and you're in the back seat, but you're higher than him. You know, the passenger is in the
Oh,
higher.
right, so you're looking over his shoulders.
That's exactly, you're looking over the top of his head, his helmet's there, and then he gives you a briefing that if something goes wrong, I will say eject 3 times. Do not eject on the first eject, do not eject on the second eject on the third eject, because I might change my mind, and I might be able to recover from whatever's going on. So do not eject until the third eject. I said, okay. He said, because I cannot eject for you. He said, and there's a big red lever under the seat. So he said, if I say it 3 times, pull that lever. He said, I can't reach around and get that for you. You will have to do it yourself. And by the time I've said eject 3 times, I'll be going myself. So I can't get you out of this. Okay, fair enough then.
Cool.
So they stick their thing on, and then they've got this G suit on as well, which have got all little bladders, all these inner tubes all over it.
What's that for?
They inflate, and they stop all the blood coming from the brain, and it stops the blood going to the major muscle groups. So you've got it round the thighs, round the chest up here, top of the arms, and round the back of the calves. Right, that's where all these bladders go. And you've got this suit on, and as you're starting to do some sort of manoeuvre, if you're doing the loop, these bladders start inflating, so the pilot doesn't pass out, so the blood stays in the brain. So bear in mind, I've had the snip about a week ago, and I'm got my boxer shorts on, and he said, would you like to do some manoeuvres? So I said, yeah, what would you like to do? So we're going to do the loop. So we're doing the loop, and of course these bladders start inflating around my muscle group so that you don't pass out. And of course my privates had fallen down the side of these bladders, and they start inflating, right? And I could feel the pressure on my boys, as it were. And I'm going, oh my God, right? I'm going, you might need to stop this. No, we're going to do it now, sir. Don't bottle out on the back, sir. Don't bottle out. We're going to do this now, sir. No, you don't understand. I said, my knackers has fallen down the side here, and I think I should have told you. I'd have screamed there. And he's going, sir, can you turn your microphone off, please? I screamed in my ears. And I'm going down, and it burst my stitches out to sew me up again.
Oh, no.
Back.
No.
Yeah, and after that,
particularly brave.
Yeah, it really was, but I didn't know they was there because these things just inflate everywhere.
But you couldn't sort of look down at him and be tapping him on the back of the helmet and say, "Oi!"
I did like to do that.
It's a long explanation, but I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
He was a bit busy at the time.
So, flying with you, would that be a safe occasion?
No, most people won't even sit on a settee with me, let alone get in a plane. I did have a plane. I did buy one, and it was one of those follies that you get and you go, oh, it's a waste of time. It's because you don't spend enough time in the air to really warrant buying it. And then I had something called a Yak 52, which was a Russian military
I know
thing.
that. You had one of those?
Yeah, the Yak 52, yeah, it's a great plane.
With guns on it?
Yeah, well, no, I had no guns on it. It was been decommissioned, but yeah, it was a proper, it was like a Russian Spitfire is what it's like, Jules. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
Plane.
Painted in camouflage colours.
It was grey.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was grey. It was like clouds all over. It was like proper grey. It was like Russian colour camouflage because they don't have the same camouflage that we have because they've got bad weather. And the thing is with those, they're proper tanks in the air. And if you have an engine failure on that, they just drop out of the sky. And it used to
because of the weight of them.
Yeah, and they're just not aerodynamically built to glide either. They're literally a war aircraft. That's what it is.
That's a proper aeroplane you had then.
Yeah, it was.
Not like a Cessna.
But I never flew it on my own. I always went with my instructor. I was too scared to fly it on my own because it was just it's like learning to drive in a Mini, then going into Formula One straight away. It was just too big a beast for a novice like me to go and fly that on my own.
Did the Russians sell it to you?
Yeah, it was all in Russian. That was the thing because all the instructions, all the dials is all in. What's that saying now?
Yeah, we're above the channel. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
Quick, look in the handbook. Oh, it's in Russian.
Yeah, it was that.
Yeah.
Everything was in Russian. So that's what I was going to say. I used to fly to France occasionally. I'd go to Le Touquet, go and get an omelette and chips on the beach, and then get back in time for X Factor, and that was it. And that'd be a Saturday afternoon for me.
I went in a little light aircraft to Le Touquet and went to the casino there.
Did you?
Yeah, I won 800 quid and then got back in it and came back home again.
But that's a pretty good day out.
That was a good day out, yeah. That paid for the flight.
I went to Iraq, I was saying before, and there was me, Catherine Jenkins. Remember, you know Catherine?
Yes.
You must know Catherine, don't you? And Gary Rhodes, the chef, and we went for Christmas. Me and Catherine was going to do the show, and Gary Rhodes, the chef, was going to do a big Christmas dinner for him. And we got off at the place in Baghdad, and they got this great big helicopter, and we went across these fields, and everything's on fire. It wasn't long after all that sort of thing going on, and it's like an holiday. It was a really weird sensation because it is a war zone, but you feel like you're in the middle of a film. And we're flying along, and they've got all the musicians there, and all the band's gear, all the kit are in the middle, all strapped down, and we're sitting around the edge of all the band's gear, and then all of a sudden this siren starts going off, a klaxon, and this big red flashing light in the back, and then this computerised voice comes out going, missile alert, missile alert, missile alert, and we're laughing, oh look, there's a missile alert like that. And of course there's some bloke on the ground got this mortar thing, and he fired it at us. And then they set this chaff off at the side, to try and to get this rocket to go and chase that. And we're still going, oh look what's going on there. I don't think we took on the seriousness of what was going on. This bloke was trying to shoot us down. And
with a guided missile.
Yeah, with a guided missile from the ground.
You just kept instead of reversing to training, you kept going. This is a laugh.
I know, it's exactly what we're doing, right? And then what was really so this chaff goes off, and then you hear it explode about a couple of 100 feet behind. You go, oh, that nearly got us, didn't it? And it's like being in a movie. And then we land, and you do the show, and you come back, and go, did that really happen? And it didn't. Sure. It didn't. None of it seemed real, but it was. And you look back and you go, wow, this is really weird. This.
It's quite tricky. In helicopters, I've been in a few, and. Twice I've been told that there's no radar, and I was once going down these cliffs, and there was jets coming over the top.
Yeah.
I said, "How do you?" To the helicopter pilot, I said, "How do you know when the jets are coming?" He said, "You just look around." He says, "And if you see one, you duck out of the way." Yeah.
They said to us when we got to the base, right? They went, "If we're expecting a mortar attack tonight because they've seen the helicopters coming in. So if that happens," and my agent had said to me as well, he went, "I'm not going to send you to Iraq and not come with you. I'll come with you." I said, "Okay, fair enough." So he comes with us, and I went, "We are expecting being mortared tonight. If that happens, you'll hear the alarm go off. The lights will go into emergency mode, and then we need you to climb under the bed. And you've got a flak jacket on all the time. Keep your flak jacket on with you all the time, and your helmet no further than arm's length away." So we looked at the beds, and there's about 2-inch gap underneath it. So, well, there's no room to get under the bed. Well, if you've got no clearance under the bed, you get in the wardrobe. Okay. And then about 2:30 in the morning, of course, the alarms go off and we go look at each other going, is this real then or what? All we've got on is a flak jacket and a pair of pants. We put our helmet on and we sit in this wardrobe for the next 3 hours, right? And he had the real bad wind. He was farting like a yak, right?
Very bad in a wardrobe, enclosed wardrobe situation.
It was really bad. And I sat there going, I can't believe this is show business. I'm sitting in a wardrobe.
This is why I went into showbiz.
Yeah, with my pants on and a flak jacket. And you're blowing off all night. I'd rather be here on my own.
And a packet of wine gums.
Yeah, and no teeth.
The other thing you were talking about on the way in, which is fascinating, which I didn't realise that you were in fact an expert on, is Dracula.
Yeah, I've done Mastermind. You've done Masterminds, Jim, haven't you?
Yeah.
What did you do it on?
The golden age of piracy, 1680 to 1720.
Well, have you done it, Jools?
Yeah.
No, I should have a go.
Oh, you should have a go.
Yeah,
Oh, you'd be great at it. Well, I did it. First time, I've done it 3 times. First time was on vampires in the movies. Second time was werewolves of the movies, and the last one I did it on Planet of the Apes. I've never won. I've always come. Got all the things right on my specialist subject. And then John Humphries always says, have a guess if you don't know it, on the general knowledge. And I remember once he said, what's the current Pope's Christian name? And I didn't know, so I just went Kevin. And of course he laughed about 30 seconds. He wasted so much time, I came last because he was laughing.
Yeah.
But going back to Dracula, I grew up in Essex in Grays. And in the original story, he goes to Purfleet. And he buys this place called the Carfax Estate. And when I was a kid, I was growing up around that way. And me and my mate Kevin Bloss used to ride on our chopper bikes down to Carfax Estate.
Oh, what a lovely sight. What colour was your chopper?
Mine was blue.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, we had the 3 gears on it.
Yes,
Do you remember
exactly,
that? Did you have one?
Yeah, with a little orange changer thing
Yeah,
inside
that was
the
it.
gears.
Did you must have had one, Jim, didn't you?
I didn't have one then when they were first out, but I did get one later on when they were reintroduced.
That's
and
right,
I got a free one.
They weren't quite as good though when they were reintroduced.
No, because they didn't have the gears on.
No, they didn't.
Anyway, going back, so you're there on your chopper with the gears.
So I became obsessed with Dracula, and so hence I want to go to Whitby as well. I want to live up there now. I started writing horror books a few years ago. I did a few courses with the Open University. I did geology, geoscience with the Open University, and then I started doing creative writing, and from that I started writing horror books. And I've got a couple published, and then the great-great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker has approached me only in the past few months, commissioned me to write a book of short horror stories under something called, they're calling it the Stokerverse. They're doing new comics and trying to get the brand back to the way Bram Stoker wanted it 120 odd years ago, because
how incredible. But that's also, may I say, you are the best example of application we've ever had on this show, because you taught yourself to fly. Well, you went flying. No, you went. No, but you decided to have flying lessons, so you learned to fly.
Yeah.
You've you gone on a creative writing course, and now you've had 2 published novels about Dracula.
Stories.
Talk about getting it done. That's
I just realised
admirable.
Yeah, but you two are like that.
Have you ever studied anything, and then apart from a driving test, anything?
I study things off my own back, not on an open university. I like to study things intently.
Well, what was your education though? What was your background education though, Jim? If you don't mind me asking.
I think when I was at school, they said in the Times that it was in the top 5 worst schools in Britain.
Was it just a state school then? What was it?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I just went to comprehensive school.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah.
But I learnt a lot out of school, a lot more,
yeah.
and especially off parents and things like that. That's where you learn things,
yeah,
really,
you do.
Isn't it?
What about motor vehicles? Are you keen on those, or trains, or anything, boats, any of those things?
The best train ride I ever did was in Peru, and that was going from Cusco to Machu Picchu. Have you done Machu Picchu?
No.
Have you done Machu Picchu?
No.
How can you two are the most well-travelled people in the world, and you know Machu Picchu?
No,
Machu Picchu, right, in Peru.
We are both 2 of the most well-travelled Victorians in Britain.
Machu Picchu, right? It's a great train from Cusco to Machu Picchu, right? And I went with my mate Kev, who we used to go to see Dracula with, Dracula the Ghost. It was him. And he had a brain problem a long time ago, and he thought he was going to go, and they operated on him. He saved his life, and ever since then he sold his house and just travels. And he phoned me up once. He went, "I'm in Peru. Do you fancy coming down?" So I went, "Yeah," and I just went.
Peru, do you fancy coming down? Yeah, why not?
It was that.
Did you fly yourself there?
No, I didn't. A bit too far for me, Jools. So I've got a normal plane. I went down there, right, and I met him in Cusco, and we went to Machu Picchu, and he'd found this witch doctor bloke that was a local down there. And it is just the most amazing place I'd ever been to in the world. And there's 2 mountains beside it. And because he was a local, he lived around there. We got there before all the tourists got there. And you get up at the break of dawn, see the sun coming up, and all these buildings. Some of them like the irrigation stuff, but it's all on these layers. It's all built on layers. And some of the irrigation stuff, as the sun shines on it, it looks like a snake coming down. It was done on purpose, it's not just an accident. It's built like as the sun shines on it, and you get this shadow of a giant snake going down the hill.
And how old are the buildings?
Well, they're still not sure. They reckon there's a couple of thousand years old that no one really knows anymore. They're still not quite sure why they built it up there. So this witch doctor bloke takes us up the side of the mountain. He says, right, okay, we're going to climb that mountain today. I go, really? Yeah, and it's so dangerous. You know, you have to sign the book in case you don't come back. They know you fell off the side. We go up the top, and he gets a load of stuff out of his bag. He's got a little satchel with him. And he said, we're going to make a sacrifice now to Pichu Mama, I think, which is the god in the sky. Okay, fair enough, then whatever that is.
But you didn't get worried that the sacrifice might have been
well,
sort of yourself?
One of us. I thought it's going to.
Yes.
I've got to kill Kev, or Kev's got to kill me. And all we had to do was give him something that was personal, that was ours. And I like crystals, and I had a little tiny bit of quartz crystal, which I gave him. And he buries it in the ground, right? He buries this, and then he gives you a couple of these little like voodoo dolls and sweets and all sorts of stuff, and you wrap it in a piece of paper and you put a bit of wool around it and you bury it, and then he lights a fire, and then he grabs this great big condor wing he gets out of this bag, and then he starts blowing the smoke and starts doing all this with the condor wing, the smoke, and we're at the top of this mountain looking down on Machu Picchu. Then all of a sudden, it was the weirdest thing ever. It started lightning, like the thunder started coming out of nowhere, and this cloud just descended on us. I thought, oh no, it's like being in The Exorcist now. It was one of the most amazing experiences ever.
That's quite extraordinary.
It really was, yeah.
Well, right, that's the thing. So, you know, of course, I met, actually, we should invite her on, Bethany Hughes, who's a television archaeologist, but she's a great noted archaeologist, and she said to me that she's been investigating the earliest musical instruments. And
really?
What she found was that the people, she said, she called it relatively modern times, which is about 1400 BC. But she said that's modern because they're building the pyramids. Then they're not Stone Age people; they're building the pyramids and all that. You know. So anyway, round about then, they found instruments that the ancients were playing. She said they were playing pipes made of herons' shin bones. So I said, well, they must be very small. She said, well, no, because we have just discovered that there are herons. We've just dug up these herons, which in fact would have been about 7 foot tall and had a 10-foot wingspan. But they were hunted down. What an idea! A heron that was that big.
Well, that was the first musical instrument that is known.
Well, one of the earliest, yes.
So there's a lot of flute symphonies.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But then with the extinction, where the heron was hunted down, that was the end of that instrument, you see.
Yeah.
You know, so you get the people...
Oh, so they've killed all the big giant herons.
Yeah.
Yes.
In favour of flutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Joe, I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time.
Oh, I hate it when you say that. Well...
Because I wanted to do a programme which was turned down years ago about Richard Dadd. He was a very famous Victorian fairy painter. They really are incredible. Then he murdered his dad. He took his dad out for a drink, murdered his dad, then ran off and got on a ferry to France, then got on a coach and tried to murder someone else. And he got caught and taken to Broadmoor, where he spent the rest of his life. But if you look on Wikipedia, it says he murdered his dad in a hollow which is on Joe Pasquale's land. And you didn't know about it?
No. See, I didn't know. I'd heard that story, but I didn't even think it was real, right? But I didn't know his name was Richard Dadd. But I knew that someone had killed his dad. I didn't know it was the same bloke that was tied in there then.
Yeah, that was him, Richard Dadd.
That's a cheerful little story. It's all happened in when is this? The early 19th century?
No, it was a late Victorian fairy painting, when fairies were really popular.
Yeah. Nice.
About the same time as Dracula.
People then had a sort of where they, I'll just throw this theory out to you both, as we're both thinkers, and the listeners can maybe muse on this as well. Where people had come from the ancient dark ages of superstition and that, and then in the 18th century and the Enlightenment comes and they're all thinking, about science and things like this. And then by the end of the 19th century, maybe they're all thinking, we will need a bit more fantasy. So they've got fairies and they've got fairy painters, they've got Dracula, they've got all of this sort of fantastic sort of stuff coming along,
Well, you think about Mary Shelley and Frankenstein, same sort of time.
Have you ever seen a fairy?
No, I don't think so.
Have you?
No, have you?
I've seen a dragonfly, which I believe is a fairy.
Oh, you're an angry one, though.
Well, I suppose that's what if you look at pictures, old Victorian pictures of fairies, they're pretty much just a dragonfly. So maybe it was just wishful thinking. Because you see those photographs I can't remember his name, the Reverend someone who took pictures of fairies in his garden.
The two little girls did it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And everybody bought it. They went, oh, these proper fairies.
Yeah, they thought they're real, yeah.
But I'm always fascinated, right?
Photoshopping I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that was 120 years ago as well. I'm always fascinated by dinosaurs, though, because before they found the bones, it was only about 150 years ago that they found the bones. Before that, they didn't even exist. So there could be other stuff out there that we don't know about.
Well, I've always held this about the unicorn, you see.
Yeah.
I went around the caves in Lascaux, or wherever it is in France, where these two children stumbled in the 1940s, across these caves, found their way in, and said to their parents, you better come and see this. And the most incredible Stone Age paintings of buffaloes and unicorns and stuff all over the walls, anyway. And the bloke's showing us round, we're going to have a look. He says, and here you can see all of the creatures that Stone Age man saw. There's the buffalo that he would hunt down, and there is the sheep that he would have kept, and there is, and there's the forest he's painted these. He said, and he's put this fantasy beast, the unicorn, in there. And I said, hold on a minute. I said, if he's painted all those other things, and it's like a really long time ago, why do you think that? Has he making up a unicorn? That's a funny thing to make up. He hasn't made up anything else.
No.
So therefore, I put it to you that it could be possibly that a unicorn exists.
I can't see any reason why not.
No, do I?
If I was going to ride into battle, it would be on either a unicorn or a lion.
Yeah, unicorn for you, Jim.
Or a pterodactyl would be quite good.
Pterodactyl is my favourite dinosaur.
It's great, aren't they? Imagine now. What do we know about the pterodactyl?
Well,
what do you want to know?
Yeah, what do you need to know?
What size were they?
Well, this is what I'm really
40 foot wingspan.
Don't think was it 40 foot? Do you reckon?
I reckon, yeah.
The thing is, this is what's really fascinating about dinosaurs is everything we see now. It's all made up still. Like the colours of them, they don't know the colour of it. They could have been blue for all we know.
Yeah.
But when you see Jurassic Park films, there was no skin. You always find his bones. They go, I reckon it was green.
I reckon they were really brightly coloured.
I reckon they were as well.
Do you think? I think they wore makeup, lipstick, and
pterodactyl lipstick on.
Yeah.
But if you did
chapstick.
Jurassic Park with psychedelic dinosaurs, people would just leave the cinema laughing, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they wouldn't be very frightening, would they? But I think you're right. Bearing in mind it is modern times that they've discovered all this stuff, so who knows? What would you like to find under there, Joe, if you could find what would we...
I don't know. Do you know what this is really fascinating now? Because only in the 1970s, plate tectonics was only discovered in the 1970s, right? That nobody thought the plates were moving at all until the 1970s. So there is so much stuff under that we don't know. And because of plate tectonics, the oldest rocks on Earth are like 500 million years old or whatever it is. Because before that, this is all going to be disappeared in 500 million years' time. What's here now is going to be gone. Every trace of us will be gone as well. You might have these aliens, right, come down in 500 million years' time, and you have these geologists come down, they won't find a trace of us here. Go, oh, this planet is completely deserted. And we don't know what was before us because it's all changed.
They might just find the very tip of Canary Wharf sticking out of a great ocean somewhere.
They could find anything like that.
So there was some civilization lived here.
Yeah, it could be a bit of Purfleet left.
Have you ever seen an alien? Because I think I did last week.
What, recently?
Honestly, I was in York, sitting out on a balcony.
Yeah.
And I looked up in the sky, and there was 4 lights in a square, and they all went off in different directions. And one of them I followed, and it went right across the sky and then stopped. So what we decided was it was either aliens or some kind of
military thing.
Military
where did you
science.
Where were you sitting outside? Did you say a pub?
No, it was on a balcony outside of an Airbnb in York.
Just checking here.
There was no drink involved. If that's the way that that's what your angle is.
I was just exploring that possibility. That was all.
So come on, what did you see?
Well, I was coming back from a gig at Butlin. This was 20 years ago. I was driving down the M4, and I lived in Lowestoft at the time. And this is before everybody had phones with cameras on, so you couldn't take pictures. And I was driving down the M4, coming up to Reading, somewhere like that, and there was a field on the left-hand side, and I saw this great big light come down, and it actually landed in a field, right? There were cows in there, and then everybody said beforehand that if you see an alien spaceship or anything like that, you have to draw it to remember it if you haven't got a camera with you. So I was living in Lowestoft, so by the time I got back home, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they said they might say I don't know who they are, but they reckon if you painted it and drew this picture, you have to take it to the police station and report it. So of course, I'll go home, get my paints out, I'll paint what I saw of this alien ship coming down with cows. I actually painted the cows as well, which they didn't need to see. But I painted the cows and everything around it. And I went to the police station. By then it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I saw this copper, and he seemed like I was really excited and panicky. He went, "What's the matter?" I went, "I've seen an alien spaceship." And he just looked at me, right, and he went, "Where?" So I said, "On the M4 near Reading." And he went, why are you telling me? So I said, well, I done a painting of it. And as I was saying this, I figured, oh, God, I sound a bit divvy now, don't I? And I went, yeah, I painted it for you. He went, why are you giving it to me? So I thought, you had to paint it and then show it to a policeman. He went, why? I said, well, in case we get invaded, you have to tell someone, don't you? He went, I don't think they're going to come to Lowestoft, are they? So I said, well, they might do.
That was a bad thing to say. Why shouldn't they come to Lowestoft? What's the matter with
I
Lowestoft?
know. So he went, you know, my shift finishes in half an hour. I really don't need this. So I went, what should I do with it? He went, take it home and put it on your wall if you like. And I said, I'm not interested. So I thought, we could be killed. They could be everywhere. He went, well, they're not, are they? Just go home, will you? And I went home with this paint. I've still got the painting at home. I didn't know what to do with it. I thought, right, div.
And here, a message from our sponsors. I bought a dog from a blacksmith. As soon as I got it home, it made a bolt for the back door.
I bet it wasn't as good as the door locks and bolts I get from Locks of Love in Loughton.
Joe, have you ever seen Uranus through a telescope?
Oh.
Did it? You can't call it Uranus anymore. You have to call it your arsehole.
I can't believe you went there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh.
Whoa. You were a red coat, weren't you?
I was a green coat in actual fact, yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, red coats was Butlins and green coats were...
Red coats were communists. Blue coats were...
Blue coats were...
Green coats were environmentally...
Yeah, that's exactly
we
what
have the Green Party, and then the blue coats told blue jokes.
I was for Warner's, you see. I went to Warner's holiday camps, and you had to do everything. You had to call the bingo, referee the wrestling, do the whist drives, tea dances, the darts tournaments, and you also had to be a lifeguard. And I remember a bloke, and the pool that we had there wasn't that deep. It was only like 3'6", 4 foot, something like that. And I was sitting on the plastic chairs in my flip-flops and I just kept an eye on all these, because it was an adults-only camp as well, so there's no kids there. And this bloke, he was quite an old bloke at the time, he was very tall, and I knew he only had one eye. And so as he's walking around the pool, his right eye was the one that he had a glass eye in, so he couldn't see the signs on the walls, because on the other side, saying no diving. Of course he dives in, and he bangs his head on the pool.
Oh.
On the bottom of the pool, and he gets up, and there's a couple of old ladies in the swimming pool, and he gets up, and he doesn't know, because he can't see out of it, obviously he's got no feel in it, he's lost his glass eyes popped out.
Oh.
And these old girls go, oh look, he's lost an eye, like that, and they didn't know it was a glass eye that popped out. It looked like he just lost an eye. And so the bloke's going, what? And he didn't know, he cracked his head, he was all right, had a bit of concussion, and he put his hand there, well, oh, my eye's gone, like that. And all these old ladies are really screaming, he said, no, it's all right, it's a glass eye, don't worry. And his glass eye was blue, which was the same colour as the bottom of the pool was painted, so you couldn't see it. So I had to get in and try and find this bloke's glass eye. And everybody's got out except for me and this bloke in there looking for his glass eye, and we couldn't find it, obviously, and it was in there for ages, and eventually, because you're diving under, you can't see it because it's the same colour as the pool. And in the end, we were trying to feel it with our feet, and I felt it, and I got it in between my big toe and my long toe and next to it, and I pulled my toe out of the water, and it was literally, I had it between my toes like that, and he plucked it out of my toes. He went, oh, you found it. And he just put it back in his eye. In his socket.
Between your toes?
Yeah. I was like, he could get a verruca off of that in a week.
Oh, verruca on the eye.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was that Sammy Davis Jr. would say.
Yeah.
God, that was a thing.
Well, that draws us fantastically to a close of our wonderful time with Joe Pasquale.
Yeah, what a fantastic journeyman he's been.
Oh.
Everywhere.
Thank you.
What an example, great example of a man that can teach himself things. I mean, that's an example to us all, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joe Pasquale.
Thank you, boys.
Well, there goes Joe in a red arrow towards his bunker that's filled with wine gums.
I think it's filled with wine gums, and he's when he gets to the bunker, he's going to eject.
We'll wish him all the best. This podcast was produced and edited by Molly Stewart.
Sound engineers were James Stewart and George Latham.